For centuries, the Galdran Empire ruled the stars. They were not just strong, they were invincible. Their soldiers wore silver armor that could stop bullets. Their ships moved faster than light. No planet had ever defeated them. When the Galdran arrived, other species surrendered without a fight, but Earth was different. The Galdran first noticed humans when their probes picked up strange signals from the edge of the Milky Way. Curious, they sent a small scout fleet to investigate. 30 sleek warships, each the size of a football stadium, entered Earth's orbit quietly. Their black holes reflected nothing. Their engines made no sound. On the first day, people looked up and saw shadows covering the sky. In New York, crowds stopped in the streets. In Tokyo, alarms rang. In Cairo, prayers echoed. People across the world stared at the strange, silent ships floating high above. Then a message played. It was broadcast in every language. We are the Galdran Empire. Your world now belongs to us. Submit and you will be spared. Resist and you will be destroyed. At first there was confusion. Was it a prank? A trick? But then a blue beam fired from one of the ships. It struck an empty desert in Nevada. A whole section of land turned to glass, the world realized. It was not a joke. In a quiet mountain village in northern Pakistan, a young engineer named Rami stood on the rooftop of his house, holding a small antenna. He had been listening to radio signals when the Galdran arrived. Now, his equipment picked up strange staticking, like anything he had ever heard. His friend Sarah, schoolteacher, joined him. "What are they saying?" she asked, eyes full of worry. Rami shook his head. "It's a code. I don't understand it yet, but it's not human." The village was peaceful. But even here, far from cities, the people were afraid. The sky didn't look the same anymore. The Galdran had not attacked yet, but everyone could feel the pressure. It was like waiting for a storm. Elsewhere, the world governments tried to respond. Fighter jets were launched, missiles fired, lights aimed lasers, but nothing worked. The Galdran ships had shields. Human weapons passed right through them, like water through air. And when the Galdran wanted to strike back, they didn't use bombs. They used gravity, pulses silent, invisible energy that crushed buildings from within. In just 2 days, 5 cities were turned into ghost towns, and still the Galdran gave their message: submit, obey, survive. Many world leaders debated surrender. But something strange happened. The people refused. In small towns, in farms, in narrow alleys, people began to talk. They didn't have armies or advanced weapons, but they had something the Galdran had never faced before: the will to resist. Rami, still working on his equipment, finally cracked part of the alien signal. It was a simple command from one ship to another. A scout drone was moving toward their valley. Sarah asked him, "What will we do when it comes?" Rami looked at her. "We'd stop it." We stared at him. "But how? We have no weapons." "We have minds," Rami replied, "and wires, and scrap metal." That night, they worked in the old village workshop. Rami connected car batteries to radio coils. Sarah helped build a trap using a large copper dish, rubber tires, and leftover solar panels. They called in others from the village: farmers, students, even a retired army cook. No one had fought a war in years. But everyone helped. By morning, the trap was ready. When the drone came, it hovered low above the village. It was smooth and silent, like a flying mirror. Its red eye scanned the ground. Then Rami pressed a switch. A wave of magnetic energy burst from the copper dish. The drone shivered, shook, dropped to the ground like a stone. It was the first Galdran machine ever taken down by humans. News of the drone spread fast. The internet was damaged, not gone. Videos were shared. Messages were passed. The story traveled from the valleys of Pakistan to the streets of Berlin and the villages of Kenya. A simple boy took down a Galdran drone, and suddenly, people believed in space. Aboard the lead Galdran ship, Commander Tarnok Vex watched the footage. He stood tall, covered in dark armor, with glowing lines running down his arms. His face was hidden behind a steel mask. He turned to his officers. This planet resists. A younger Galdran officer blinked. Sir, they are primitives. They do not even have energy shields. They are different, Tarnok said slowly. They do not surrender. They do not panic. They build weapons from trash. Another officer scoffed. So, one drone was lost? We will crush them all. Tarnok stared at the screen, watching Rami's trap play again and again. Deep inside, a strange feeling grew in his chest. He had never felt it before. It was doubt. Back on Earth, Rami and Sarah sat by a small fire. The village was calm again, but above, the sky still glowed with distant shadows. Sarah looked at him. You think they'll come back? Rami nodded. Yes, and next time they won't send a drone. Then what will we do? Rami looked at the stars. His voice was steady. We fight, like humans. To be continued in Part 2, The Spark in the Mountains. The destroyed drone lay still in the middle of the valley, its metal body half buried in the dirt. Rami and Sarah stood over it, breathing heavily. Round them, people from the village watched with quiet amazement. It was the first time anyone had seen alien technology up close. Rami crouched beside the broken machine. This is just the beginning, he said. Sarah nodded slowly. They won't ignore us now. High above the earth, aboard the Galdran command ship, Vorthan, Commander Tarnok Vex stood alone in the control chamber. A glowing screen replayed the moment his drone fell. Static crackled as the energy pulse from Rami's trap shorted the drone's systems. The doors behind. Tarnok opened. His second officer, Cavrel, entered. Commander, our fleet requests orders. The humans are spreading resistance stories. Their populations are growing bolder. Tarnok didn't turn. His voice was calm, cold. The humans are different. They are weak, Cavrel insisted. Primitive. Your weapons are hundreds of cycles behind ours. Tarnok's eyes narrowed. Yet they do not submit. That makes them dangerous. Back in the valley, Rami and Sarah carefully opened the drone's damaged shell. Inside were glowing wires, a small power core, and strange circuits they couldn't recognize. It didn't look like anything from Earth. This could help us, Rami said. If we study this tech, maybe we can find a way to defend other places. Then we should start, Sarah replied. Before they returned, they brought the drone into the old village storage room. The air was filled with the smell of oil and metal. The village elders watched but said nothing. They trusted Rami and Sarah now. Every day, more people joined them in a nearby mountain town. A young boy named Faison and his older sister Amina had seen Rami's video. They traveled for 2 days to reach the valley. When they arrived, they carried spare wires, broken radios, and a small solar panel. I want to help, Faison said. Standing tall in front of Rami, you're just a kid, someone whispered. But Rami smiled. We need everyone. That night, they worked together. Rami guided people as they took apart the Galdran drone piece by piece. Sarah translated Rami's instructions to those who had never touched a machine before. It was slow work. But something was changing. A village was turning into a lab. Farmers were becoming engineers. Fear was turning into action. In the capital city of Karachi, chaos ruled. People ran from markets, searching for shelter. Galdran drones hovered in the sky, watching silently. But in a small apartment, a group of university students worked in secret. One of them, Zeshin, had built a signal jammer using old parts from a television. He had seen what happened in the valley and believed they could do the same. They hid the jammer on the roof of an abandoned building. When a Galdran scout flew by, Zeshin activated it. The drone crashed into a billboard. People cheered Commander. Tarnok now faced a new report. 5 Galdran drones had been destroyed in different parts of the world. None by military forces, all by civilians, engineers, students, and farmers. This is impossible, Cavrel growled. They are just insects. Tarnok turned, his voice sharp. They are not insects. They are fire. A kind that spreads when struck. He stared at the galaxy map. Earth was glowing red not because of Galdran control, but because of spreading resistance. We will send a strike unit to the valley, Tarnok said. Find the ones who destroyed our first drone, destroy them. 3 days later, just before sunrise, the sky above the valley darkened again. This time it was not a scout. It was a Galdran dropship, armed and ready. Rami was inside the workshop, studying the drone's power core. Brother Rami, it's Brother Rami. Something is falling from the sky. Rami dropped his tools and ran outside. The ship was coming straight for them. It was larger than a building, glowing with blue fire. People screamed. Some ran. Others froze. Sarah grabbed a megaphone. Everyone, get to the shelters. Now. Rami turned to the team. We built one trap before. Let's build another. The next 30 minutes, the villagers worked like never before. They connected car batteries, ran wires across rooftops, and aimed their magnetic dish toward the open field. The dropship landed hard, shaking the earth. Its ramp lowered, and out marched for Galdran enforcers, each over 7 feet tall, glowing with armor. They scanned the village, but they saw no soldiers, only silence, until Rami hit the switch. A surge of energy exploded from the trap. One of the Galdran enforcers staggered, its armor flickering. Another dropped to one knee, sparks flying from its chest. The villagers didn't stop there. Rocks flew from slingshots. Small petrol bombs lit the ground. Children launched drones packed with wires that tangled the Galdran legs. It wasn't war, it was chaos. Human chaos, and it worked. 2 enforcers were disabled. The others retreated back to the ship. Commander Tarnok watched it live from his ship. He couldn't believe it. His elite ground team chased off by villagers. They don't fight like others, he muttered. They fight like they don't care about losing. Caverill stared at the screen in disbelief. Do we request reinforcements? Tarnok turned slowly. No, not yet. We must teach them fear, Caverill said. Tarnok replied coldly, the problem is, they don't have fear. That night the village celebrated. For the first time, the stars above didn't seem so heavy. Faison danced. Sarah laughed. Rami stood at the edge of the village, staring at the sky. We stopped them again, Sarah said beside him. Rami nodded, but this time, it will come harder. Are you scared? She asked. No, Rami said, his eyes sharp. I'm ready. To be continued in Part 3, The Fearless Few. In the ruined city of Boston, the streets were empty. Broken glass covered the roads and buildings leaned like tired giants. A fire truck sat sideways near a collapsed bridge, but inside that truck, Tom, a former firefighter, was making plans. He wasn't a soldier. He didn't know much about war. But when the Galdran hit the city 2 weeks ago, Tom had rushed into the flames to rescue people. Since then, more had joined him, nurses, cooks, students, even a violin teacher. Together, they became something. New team. They called themselves the Ash Hands because they worked with fire, a rebel, and courage. Tom stood beside a table where maps were laid out. A young woman named Ellie handed him a damaged Galdran sensor. It still blinks, she said. It's tracking something. Tom turned the device over. Let's make it track the wrong thing. Within minutes, they attached the tracker to a racing drone. It sped down the ruined streets, heading straight toward a Galdran patrol. The aliens followed it, right into a trap. Tom's team had filled a narrow alley with fuel tanks, glass shards, and metal wires. As the patrol entered the alley, Ellie hit the button. A loud explosion shook the city. Another Galdran patrol. Gone, far away in Nigeria, in a small workshop in Kano, an old mechanic named Yusuf wiped sweat from his forehead. He stared at an old bus, now transformed. Armor plating covered its sides. Pipes stuck out like horns. On top sat a launcher, made from steel rods and a tractor engine. He called it the Thunder Ox. Yos had never liked war. But when his town's water supply was destroyed by the Galdran, he knew he couldn't wait for help now, every day. He and his neighbors used the Thunder Ox to carry supplies, rescue families, and attack Galdran drones. YUSUF believed something simple. We fix machines. Now we fix our world. In China, in the city of Wuhan, a high school student named Mei sat in a dark basement. Around her, wires dangled from the ceiling. Screens flickered. Her laptop hummed softly. She had hacked into a Galdron walker. It stood outside like a frozen statue, one leg bent, its eye blinking slowly. She had studied the Galdron code for days, line by line. At last, she found a way in. Now, with every button she pressed, the walker moved. "Let's take you for a walk," she whispered. She didn't attack anyone. Not yet, but May had a plan. "If I can control one, I can control more." A commander. Tarnok Vex sat in silence aboard the command ship Vorthon. The screen showed footage from around Earth, humans defeating Galdron. Patrols with strange weapons and wild tricks. "These creatures," he said quietly, "they are not trained like soldiers. They don't follow logic, but they win." His officer, Cavril, slammed a fist on the table. "They are fools, children playing with fire." Turned slowly, and yet fire burns. Back on Earth, in the Pakistani valley, Rami, Sarah, and young Faison worked inside their growing workshop. New volunteers had arrived, people from cities, villages, and even another country. One man brought a broken satellite dish. A woman brought an old laptop filled with code. "Let's build something new," Rami told them, "something that can reach the world." They called their new project the Stone Voica, a signal tower that would broadcast human resistance across every frequency. It would not send panic. It would send hope. At night, Sarah stood with Faison near a campfire. "Why do they keep fighting?" "Us," Faison asked. "Why not just leave?" Sarah looked up at the stars. "Because they've never lost before. They don't understand how to lose." "Then we teach them," Faison said, smiling. In the mountains of Peru, a farmer named Luis had built something strange. It looked like a giant slingshot made of wood, rope, and car parts. His sons helped load it with metal spheres. When a Galdron scout flew near their village, they launched the sphere into the air. The scout blinked, slowed. Luis laughed for the first time in weeks. "Who needs missiles?" The Galdron began to change their tactics. They stopped landing troops and started bombing from above. But even that didn't work, because every time they destroyed a village, 5 more rose to fight. Humans shared their ideas, their plans, their victories. Even when they lost, they learned, and they kept coming back. Commander Tarnok watched his officers grow silent. He looked at their eyes filled with fear. "These humans are not like the others," he said. "We thought they were weak. But they are strong in a way we never saw." Cavril asked, "Should we send the full fleet?" "No," Tarnok said. "That will only make them fight harder." "Then what do we do?" Tarnok stared at Earth. "We watch, we learn, and we prepare for the first real war we've ever faced." Meanwhile, Rami finally activated the Stone Voice with Sarah's help. He tuned the signal and began the broadcast. His voice echoed across shortwaves, radios, and even hacked Galdron frequencies. "To all humans, wherever you are not alone. We are fighting, and we are winning.
You don't need weapons.
You need will, stand, resist, survive."
In shelters, in ruins, in forests and deserts, people heard the message in a flooded village. A woman smiled through tears. In a dark bunker, a boy raised his fist in orbit inside the Galdron command ship. Commander Tarnok listened to the voice of a human dot, and for the first time in his long career, he felt fear. To be continued in Part 4, Cracks in the Steel. Commander Tarnok Vex stood alone in the dark war chamber of the Galdron command ship Vorthon. Giant screens showed the planet Earth, glowing with hundreds of red dots each. Dot marked a location of human resistance. Tarnok watched silently as another report arrived. Galdron patrol lost in Eastern Africa. Drone captured in Central Asia. Power node hacked in South America. He tapped the screen. They are everywhere now. His second officer, Cavril, entered the room with a hard expression. "We have never faced a species like this," he said. Turna replied, "Because this species does not surrender. They adapt, they learn, they fight in ways we cannot predict." In the valley workshop, Rami, Sarah, and Faison stood over a table. Pieces of the Galdron drone they captured weeks ago were now spread out like puzzle parts. Wires, circuits, and power cells. Rami was focused on a small glowing chip. "This," he said, "is the Galdron's power regulator. If we understand it, we can power human devices with alien energy." Sarah smiled. "We could light up villages, charge communication, towers, even power weapons." Faison nodded, his eyes shining. "Or maybe ... build a suit." Rami looked at him. "What kind of suit?" Faison grinned. "One that can stop a Galdron." While they worked, something strange happened in space. A Galdron cruiser, damaged and limping, landed outside a small Earth village in northern Canada. The crew was weak, their systems failing due to cold and strange Earth conditions. The villagers surrounded them, but did not attack. Instead, they helped an old woman brought blankets. A young man started a fire. One Galdron soldier, confused and injured, looked at the humans and asked, "Why do you help your enemy?" The young man replied, "Because we are human, we help, even when we hurt." The Galdron had no answer. Later, the ship took off, again, but one soldier stayed behind. He didn't want to fight anymore. In an underground lab in Germany, a group of engineers, scientists, and mechanics, none of them soldiers, had finally done something incredible. They had created the first human-built energy shield using Galdron tech. It was small, only large enough to protect a person, but it worked. "It's not perfect," said Dr. Lena, the project leader, "but it's proof their strength can become ours." Commander Tarnock read the newest report with a hard stare. "Human engineers have copied Galdron shield technology." He stood up. "This planet is not a conquest," he said slowly. "It is a mirror. And the reflection shows us something terrifying." Back in Pakistan, Rami and Sarah tested the new prototype power suit. It was bulky, made from scrap metal, wires, and stolen alien parts. "It wasn't beautiful, but it worked," Sarah strapped it on. "Feels like wearing a fridge," she joked. Rami laughed. "Try lifting that rock." She bent down. The suit hissed and whirred. She picked up a heavy stone like it was paper. Faison clapped. "We have our first armor." Sarah smiled. "It's not perfect, but it's ours." Rami nodded. "We'll build more for others, for those who fight without anything." In the desert of Egypt, a group of resistance fighters led by Zara, former archaeologist, had started using mirror tricks and heat illusions to confuse Galdron drones. One night, they created a giant fake city using smoke and mirrors. When the Galdron attacked, they wasted their fire on nothing but air. Zara laughed. "Let them fight shadows. We'll save the real fire for later." Inside the Galdron High Council room, the leaders gathered via hologram. They were angry, confused. "They are just one species," shouted one. "Why are we losing?" Tarnock stood in the center, silent. Another leader growled, "Why are they so dangerous?" Tarnock looked around the room. "Because humans do not fight with just weapons. They fight with ideas, with spirit, with unity. Even when they are broken, they rise again. That is what makes them dangerous." In the forests of Brazil, Lena, a paramedic, had turned her rescue team into a frontline medical squad. They rushed into bomb zones, saving both humans and even injured Galdron who had been left behind. One of her team asked, "Why save the enemy?" Lena replied, "Because they may return with stories, stories of our kindness. Sometimes a story is stronger than a weapon." Resistance leaders across Earth began to connect using the stone. Voice signal built by Rami and Sarah. It wasn't just a radio anymore, it was a global network of people sharing tactics, tools, and victories. One night, Rami sat by the signal tower. Faison joined him. "Do you think we can really win?" the boy asked. Rami didn't answer at first, and he said, "I don't know if we'll win tomorrow, but I know this. We are not afraid anymore, and that means we've already won something." Commander Tarnock knew Earth was slipping from there. "Grip." He looked at the final message on his screen. "Local Galdron forces refusing orders. Some soldiers asking for peace." Cavrel stormed in. "Commander, our own soldiers are losing discipline." They say humans show them kindness. We are here, Tarnock said quietly, because we told them the galaxy belongs to us. But now they see. Galaxy may belong to someone else. Earth had been a target. Now, it had become a lesson, a test the Galdron never expected. From mountains to cities, from deserts to seas, humans fought, helped, built, and shared. The cracks in the steel of the Galdron Empire were spreading and behind. Every crack was a human toad. To be continued in Part 5, Retaliation and Fire. The Galdron Empire was losing control. From the orbiting command ship Vorthon, Commander Tarnock Vex watched Earth through a large glass window, looked peaceful from space blue oceans, green land, white clouds. But inside that world, chaos burned. His reports told the truth. Multiple patrol units destroyed. Resistance spreading in all sectors. Soldiers refusing direct orders. Alien technology stolen by humans. Tarnock's fists tightened. They don't have weapons, he said. Don't have war fleets. But still, we're losing. His second officer, Cavril, stepped forward. Then we end it now. No more warnings, no more mercy. Tarnock's eyes glowed red. Very well. Begin Operation Flame Dust. That same day, the skies over Earth darkened. Galdron fireships entered the atmosphere. They didn't land. They hovered high above, silent and still. Then they released their weapons. Not bombs, not lasers, but heat pulses, massive waves of burning energy that melted steel, turned glass to sand, and scorched entire fields. Cities lit up in red, buildings cracked, roads turned soft. Trees exploded into fire. From the sky it looked like glowing rivers. Pouring across the planet in Karachi, the blast came during the afternoon. Rami, Sarah, and Faison were inside the workshop when the air suddenly grew hot, too hot. The walls began to shake. The lights flickered. Everyone underground, Sarah shouted. The team rushed into the bunker they had built weeks ago. Fire pulse hit moments later, turning the surface into burning ashdod inside the bunker. It was dark and quiet. Then Faison whispered, "Did they win?" Rami stood slowly. "No, they just proved they're scared." Across the world, Operation Flame Dust continued. In Paris, the Eiffel Tower melted halfway. In Cairo, markets were turned into glass. In Sydney, the harbor boiled. But something strange happened. The people didn't stop. In Boston, Tom and his team, the Ash Hands, climbed out of their shelter. The fire had torn through buildings, but their traps, hidden deep below, were untouched. "Check the sensors," Tom said. One of his team, Ellie, checked a small screen. 2 Galdron scout ships approaching from the north, moving slow. "Let's greet them," Tom said, smiling. They rolled out a set of homemade rockets attached to stolen alien cores. The launchers looked like pipes welded to old bikes. Tom lit the fuse. The rocket screamed into the sky and struck. One ship clean in the engine. The Galdron craft spun, lost control, and crashed into a frozen lake. Cheers erupted, even after the fires. Humans were still fighting back. In Brazil, Lena and her team moved through a burning forest. Ash fell like snow. The heat made it hard to breathe, but they didn't stop. They found a group of trapped villagers, some burned, some hurt. Lena's paramedic team worked fast. One Galdron soldier lay nearby, wounded and lost. One of Lena's teammates reached for a weapon. "No," Lena said. "Help him too, but he's the enemy." Lena looked at the Galdron's frightened eyes. "Maybe he won't be after this." News spread across Earth. Even after the fire, the humans are still standing. People rebuilt shelters. They shared food. They repaired tools. Resistance stations began broadcasting again within hours. The stone voice signal, built by Rami and Sarah, came back online. "We are still here," Rama's voice said. "The sky burned, but we did not fall. This is our world, and we will not give up." In a hidden lab near the valley, Rami and Sarah worked day and night. Their power suit, made from broken Galdron tech, was almost complete. This version was faster, lighter, and stronger. Sarah tested it. She jumped 6 meters into the air. Faison clapped. It's amazing. Sarah laughed. Now imagine 100. Of these, we'll get there, Rami said, far away in the Galdron ship. Vorthen. The mood was tense. Commander Tarnok listened to the voices from Earth-human voices. Strong and full of courage, he watched footage of humans saving each other, fighting back, sharing food, and even helping wounded Galdron. Why are they like this? He asked aloud. Cavriel growled. They should be broken by now, no, Tarnok said quietly. They are built from something stronger than metal. They fight with their hearts. That night, Rami, Sarah, and Phazin stood outside the bunker. Looking up at the stars, the sky was dark. But they could see flickers of light Galdron ships still floating above. Do you think they'll attack again? Phazin asked. Rami nodded. Yes, but every time they do, they show us who they are and remind us who we are. Sarah added, they have fire, but we have the spark. The next morning, a strange thing happened. One Galdron ship flew down slowly. With no weapons ready, it landed in a field near the valley. People gathered in silence. The door opened. A single Galdron soldier stepped out, no armor, no gun. He raised his hands. My name is Veeler, he said, in a slow but clear voice. I will not fight. I want peace. That moment changed everything. Soon, more Galdron began questioning their orders. A few even helped humans repair systems. The Galdron High Council sent an emergency message to Tarnok. End this. You're losing control. But Tarnok didn't reply. He only stared at the earth. The fire had failed. The humans still stood. The Galdron. Power, but humans had something stronger. Unity, kindness, rage, hope, and now. The fight was no longer just survival. It was a movement to be continued in Part 6, Collapse of Giants. The Galdron Empire was crumbling. No one had expected the humans to fight back like this. The invincible warriors of the stars were now on the defensive. The once proud ships were falling one by one, and their soldiers were confused and scared. Commander. Tarnok Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship. His eyes scanned the battle reports streaming in. We're losing control of the battlefield. Every day, more ships were disabled. More soldiers were captured or defected. Even some of the Galdron officers began to question the war. This should not happen. Tarnok muttered. His second-in-command Cavriel was brought before him in chains. He had been captured by the humans during a surprise attack. The last person Tarnok wanted to see in captivity. Tarnok stared at Cavriel. How did it come to this? Cavriel said nothing. In a ruined city, Tom led his team through the rubble. The Ash Hands had become legends. People whispered their names with hope. Tom's group moved carefully. They avoided patrols and searched for supplies. His team had learned how to use guerrilla tactics against the Galdron. They made traps with simple things: old wires, metal scraps, and broken machines. Tom found Cavriel lying in a small cage. The officer's armor was cracked, and his face was pale under the helmet. Why? Don't you fight anymore? Tom asked as he unlocked the cage. Cavriel looked up. Your people. You are not like any other. You have no fear. You help your enemies. Why? Tom smiled. Because we are human. It is who we are. Cavriel didn't answer but looked thoughtful. In the mountains of Pakistan, Rami, Sarah, and Phazin were busy in their workshop. They were building more power suits, faster and lighter than before. We can't stop now, Sarah said. Every person who can fight needs one of these. Was fitting a new energy shield on a suit. The Galdron won't know what hit them. Rami smiled. We have turned their strength into our power. Meanwhile, children all over the world were joining the fight in a small village. A group of kids used kites and loudspeakers to confuse the enemy sensors. The Galdron drones could not understand the noise and light patterns. Luis, the farmer from Peru, helped them build small flying machines from scrap metal. These drones carried tiny explosives that could disable Galdron equipment. The Galdron soldiers called them ghosts in the wind. The children called it fun. In a hidden bunker, May sat in front of her computers. Her hacked Galdron walker stood outside, ready. Tonight, she planned to take it into battle. Her hands moved quickly over the keyboard. The walker's eyes lit up. It moved forward. May smiled. We are no longer the hunted. Back on the Galdron command ship, Tarnok received a message from the High Council. Withdraw from Earth. This war is lost. Tarnok looked out at the stars. Earth was shining brightly below. No, he said softly. We came here thinking we were gods. But we met humans. And humans are not gods. They are something more. The Galdron fleet began to retreat. Ships disappeared beyond the stars. The Empire's hold on Earth was broken. Humans rebuilt their cities. They helped each other heal. And the world stood united. One evening, Tarnok met with Tom and the human leaders. I underestimated you, Tarnok said. You have taught us the meaning of strength. Not power, not weapons, but courage, unity, compassion. Tom nodded. You will always be welcome here, if you choose peace. Tarnok looked to the sky. Perhaps this is the start of a new chapter. The Earth was free, but the story of humanity's fight had just begun, because the true power of humans was not in their weapons, it was in their hearts, to be continued. In Part 7, the day the sky cleared. The stars looked calm that night. For the first time in many months, no Galdron ships hung above Earth's atmosphere. The Great War was over. The memory of the fight was still alive in every heart. In the valley where it all began, Rami, Sarah, and Phazon stood together, watching the sunrise. It feels like a new world, Sarah said softly. Phazon smiled. A world we earned. Across the planet, people celebrated in different ways. In New York, crowds gathered in the streets. They sang songs, hugged strangers, and danced under the clear sky in Tokyo. Families lit lanterns and released them into the air, symbols of hope and peace. In Cairo, children played freely in the streets. No longer afraid of shadows, but peace. Did not mean forgetting. The world's leaders met to decide what to do next. They wanted to make sure Earth was never threatened again. Tom, leader of the Ash Hands, spoke to the council. We cannot rely on luck or silence in the sky. We must be ready. We must protect what we fought for. Rami nodded. We need to build stronger defenses, share knowledge, and unite all nations. Sarah added, and teach the next generation to be brave and kind, like we were. In a bright room filled with plants and machines, May worked on her hacked Galdron walker. She smiled as the machine moved smoothly. This is not just a weapon, May said. It's a tool, a friend. Far away in a rebuilt city, Commander Tarnok Vex walked among humans. His armor was gone. He was no longer a commander of war, but a student of peace. He visited schools, learning about Earth's history and culture. He met children who asked him questions with curious eyes. Why did you fight us? One child asked. Tarnok thought. For a moment, because I believed we were stronger, but now I know strength is about respect, not power. The Galdron who stayed on Earth began helping rebuild. Some repaired machines. Others taught humans their technology. Together, they worked side by side. In the valley, Rami looked at the stars again. Do you think they will come back? Phazon asked. Rami smiled. If they do, we will be ready. Not because we are invincible, but because we are human. Sarah took Phazon's hand. We will keep fighting with our hearts. The world had changed from the ruins of war. A new future was rising, one where humans and aliens could live, learn, and grow together, where strength was measured not by how many battles were won, but by how much kindness was shared, and that was the greatest victory of all. The end.